said though when I asked you if we'd make it far? That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be. Then she said no, 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 no. No, 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 you should. I've earned the cost and now I've paid it. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, please don't go. I know my face a memory erasing. Been a few years since I heard your voice, yeah. Lost a few here, but it's not by choice, no. Girl, I see your face every day when I look through my phone. Can't delete all these memories, won't leave me alone. Hit my blind side, never saw you coming. You were so wild, but no, I was nothing. And I'm nothing now, nothing's changed. You know I'm just the same. Miss you now, but I hope that someday you explain. That one last kiss that they write about, my one last wish you could never doubt. I trust angels who fly away from you, and you told me that we'd never die. Gave me so many reasons why we were meant to be.
Hello, my friends. I'm probably blinding all of you. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Should be starting very, very shortly. I hope everyone is having a blessed day. Yes, SB. Hope you're having a blessed day too. Hello, all things McGee. Good afternoon. Justin, Mods, and Chat. A beautiful day in Georgia after the storm last night. We got some crazy storms last night too. Thank you, Dodie. Yes, please do hit that thumbs up button. Please, please. It is a free way to really, really help out. Hello, Chris. How are you doing? Great to see you. Shorty, hello. SB, Jessica Knight, the singer. Forgive me, but his link is down in the description of this video. It's in every single video. Hello, Lori. Jessica, hello. Mandy, hi. Good to see you. Sonia, great to see you. Hello, Angie. Net, your intro makes me weep every time. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I like to wear bright colors. Hey, Jessica. Good, good. So hopefully God, if they can't wrap this up today, like what? Like, at least like the lawyer stop talking and they can, go deliberate. That would be lovely. I do think that the state earlier did a really good job. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm not in my office right now. So I think the state did a really good job overall. Hello, vet girl. Good to see you. Think the judge gives his orders next. That would be great. I hope so. It's about time. About 3 weeks. Past time, actually. Hello, Claudia. Good to see you. Yay, you made it back in time, Laura. Good. I got home on 2 wheels, basically, to get here. Yeah, and I hope, in my opinion, I pray that they found Alec Murdaugh guilty of the murder and of his son, Paul Murdaugh, and his wife, Maggie Murdaugh. it's not good to murder anyone, obviously, but your child and your wife for money is incomprehensible. The state has had an awesome rebuttal. Yeah, I think they did a great job. Now the defense earlier, it was about distracting and putting words in, you know, the mouths of people who testified, in the mouths of the state. And in my opinion, it did nothing whatsoever, other than just try to muddy up the water, which is what you know, that's all they can really do, in my opinion, because there's not, the facts, in my opinion, aren't on Alec's side. Amber K, thank you for becoming a member, my love. Did you do a poll after closing arguments? I did not do a poll. Sonia, oh my God, 2 members, 6 minutes in. Thank you, thank you. Goodness gracious, thank you. Yes, they do deserve justice. And listen, Paul was a flawed individual, and and sometimes, but he was young, and a lot of first of all, we're all flawed, every single one of us. And second of all, he was very young, and he didn't get time on this earth to fix his mistakes. Alec Murdaugh um, knows the law better than any of us. Most of us aren't lawyers, right? And money and selfishness got in the way of everything that he has really ever been through his entire life. He has always found a way to weasel out of it through money, through influence of him and his family's power in that county. And in the county that they live in is the poorest county in South Carolina. So imagine the greater disparity between the Murdaughs and the peers around Murdaugh, with that much money, and the town or the county being very poor. God knows, there's probably going to be things that continue to come out about Alec and the Murdaugh family, I would probably safely assume. And yes, thank you, Laura. Yep, let's get those likes up, please. Hey, Nosy, just got off work. Yay. Yeah, we should be starting fairly shortly here. Fairly shortly. Yeah, I hit that on the way in. And, I think there's going to be more cases that, just like the boat accident, you can say, in my opinion at least, stemmed why there is a case here now. At least the prosecutors would have you believe that, Alec did this for he didn't want anyone in his financial records, because people would know he was, robbing money and how deep in debt he was. And, he didn't want that. So what did he do? He, in my opinion, allegedly at this point, knocked off his child. So that would be gone, the trial, and to gain sympathy from, excuse me, to gain sympathy from, to gain sympathy from maybe the family, And that's why we have this today. But now, it has also reopened Stephen Smith. So Buster might be looked at next. Um, maybe Alec, one of his brother, may be looked at. There's going to be a lot of microscopes uh, around this family, probably for some time. The house of Murdaugh, if if he's definitely convicted of murder, it's fell. It's over. It's over. The reign of Murdaugh is over for this county. Now, he's got a lot of financial crimes ahead of him as well. That is enough to put him in jail, most likely for the rest of his entire natural life. But it's not murdering a child, right? It's not murdering your wife. There is a difference. Financial crimes are horrible, but it's not murder. So maybe it would withstand a little bit of the test of time like that. It would still be difficult. So I really think it's pretty much over for this local, you know, Southern County, Southern, yeah, well, I guess it's the lower country, Southern dynasty. He didn't gain any sympathy. I wish people would quit saying that. Why would he did that? I personally don't believe that. The state definitely did not prove it. I mean, you have every absolutely right to think that, Lucy. Um, I think when you have when your wife has secretly hired a financial forensic accountant looking into her husband. Thank you, Crimea River. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's very kind of you. Thank you for your super sticker. I think things may have been no, you have every right to think that. Absolutely. Um, Listen, disagreement is welcome here, and you were very respectful. That's all we asked. Thank you. Um, but I think Maggie may have started to uncover some secrets. Um, Maybe she didn't uncover any secrets. Maybe she found out about maybe the women. Maybe she already knew about the women. But right after uh, the family and the boating accidents, that is when they had kept requesting and requesting Alec to pull over his financials, and he was not giving them. And it had pretty much came to a head where he was going to be made, like legit made, to hand them over. And so I can see a motive there personally. The state most definitely did prove it. You think so? I mean, everyone, some people, this is the thing, I kind of stand somewhere in the middle, even though I think Alec is 100% guilty, in my opinion. I, I don't think that they had the gun in his hand, but I do think they caught him of lying, and he admitted of lying. And why would you lie saying that you weren't there when your child and your wife was shot, uh, and then you get caught that you indeed was there and you continued to lie all of this time? Make that make sense. You know, I felt less inclined to believe in guilty verdict before closing yesterday. Interesting, Lana. Very interesting. Excuse me. He was definitely at the kennel. They did prove motive, but didn't have to surprise me. Yeah, they had evidence through the records on OnStar. Yes, that they did. I think Crimea River. I do think he's. I mean, he's a lawyer. Of course, he's a good lawyer. You know. Yeah. I mean, and to be honest with you, I think a lawyer, they they are paid, in a lot of cases, to just keep their client out of jail. It's nothing personal. That's just what it is. And, you know, so yeah, he's a known liar. He's a self-admitted liar after being backed into a corner finally so much. And then not only that, he was into drugs, and that comes hand in hand. Any type of addiction, it comes hand in hand with lying. It just does. It's just part of it. um because of what's going inside of your head and all that. But I was thinking about Dick Harpoolian. God, what a dick. He's a dick. One. Okay. Two, he is a lawyer, right? Three, he is a politician. Those three things right there, you can never trust. Dick, right? Sorry, I'm laughing. A politician and a lawyer. Is the jury sequestered, Justin? Not yet, but the judge will give the judge will give orders shortly to the jury. He will tell them, the standard that the prosecution needs to meet in order to uh, say that he's guilty or he is not guilty. Just give me 1 second. Let me check something. Let me check one more thing. Okay. No. So on a recent poll, the Murdaugh murder trial, what will the jury decide now that the closings are concluded? Based upon basically 51,000 votes, 63% thinks that they will find Alec Murdaugh guilty. 12% says they will not find Alec Murdaugh guilty, and 25% says that will be a hung jury. Okay, so we see the judge's clerk here, one of the judges or assistants. I don't know if she's a clerk or whatever, but so that should be kicking off here rather shortly. Yes, guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up, I would appreciate it. Yes. He snapped all the financial. I think, he needs his pills now. Yeah. You see, like, right after, literally right after they was making him uh, give those financials over, before, like the day before, that is when Maggie and Paul were killed. Then after they were killed and all that, and then right before the Alec tried to himself, when we tried to do that, It was just like 12 hours before. That is when he was getting busted with the attorney, his work, and that he had literally screwed over other of his clients, basically. So you can trust no backwoods Southern lawyer. All right, here we go, guys. Take it all in. We're almost there.
Remind me to thank the little girl. If you will bring the jury.
Hey guys, I'm going to switch over to law and crime because they're a little bit ahead and you can see all three. There we go.
It is your duty to determine the effect, the value, and the weight of the evidence presented during this trial. As a trial judge, it is my responsibility to preside over the trial of the case, and I have the duty to rule upon or pass upon the admissibility of the evidence offered during the trial. You are to consider only the testimony which has been presented from this witness stand, along with other exhibits and evidence presented during the trial. Any other evidence or exhibits which have been made a part of the record you may consider, along with any stipulations made by counsel. I have the additional duty to charge you the law applicable to this case. And as the presiding judge, I am the sole judge of the law. It is your duty as jurors to accept and apply the law as I now state it to you, then to deliberate in an effort to reach your verdict. And finally, I charge you in this regard that you should not be concerned with what you think the law ought to be, but what I charge you that the law is. You are also the judges, the sole judges of the credibility, that is the believability of the witnesses who have testified and of the evidence offered. In considering credibility, you may take into consideration many things, such as the demeanor or manner of testifying, whether the witness had reason to be biased or prejudiced, and whether the testimony was contradicted on the one hand or supported and corroborated on the other hand. You may believe a small portion of a witness's testimony and disregard the larger, or vice versa. All these things you will consider, bearing in mind that you should give the defendant the benefit of any reasonable doubt. It becomes your duty as jurors to analyze and to evaluate the evidence and determine that evidence which convinces you of its truth. There are two types of evidence which are generally presented during a trial: direct evidence and circumstantial evidence. Direct evidence directly proves the existence of a fact and does not require deduction. Circumstantial evidence is proof of a chain of facts and circumstances indicating the existence of a fact. Crimes may be proven by direct evidence or circumstantial evidence. The law makes no distinction between the weight or value to be given either direct evidence or circumstantial evidence. However, to the extent the state relies on circumstantial evidence, the circumstances must be consistent with each other, and when taken together, point conclusively to the guilt of the accused beyond a reasonable doubt. If these circumstances merely portray the defendant's behavior as suspicious, the proof has failed. The state has the burden of proving the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This burden rests with the state, regardless of whether the state relies on direct evidence, circumstantial evidence, or some combination of the two. The rules of evidence ordinarily do not permit witnesses to testify to opinions or conclusions. An exception to this rule exists for witnesses we call expert witnesses. An expert witness is a witness who, by education and experience, has become expert in some art, science, profession, or calling, and may state an opinion as to relevant and material matter in which the witness claims to be an expert, and may also state the reasons for the opinion. You should consider any expert opinion received in evidence, and like any other evidence, give it the weight you think it deserves. If you decide that the opinion of an expert is not based on sufficient education and experience, or if you conclude that the reasons given in support of the opinion are not sound, or that the opinion is outweighed by other evidence, you may then disregard the opinion entirely. An expert witness's testimony is to be given no greater weight than that of any other witness, simply because the witness is an expert. Further, you are not required to accept an expert's opinion, even though it is not contradicted. In regard to evidence of other crimes and evidence of alleged bad acts on other occasions, this evidence is limited to consideration by you as it relates to the motive of the defendant for the offenses charged in this case. This evidence cannot be used for any other purpose. This type of evidence must not be considered in any other fashion. In particular, the South Carolina rules of evidence provide that evidence of other crimes, wrongs, or acts is not admissible to prove the character of a person in order to show action in conformity therewith. Put another way, evidence of other crimes or bad acts cannot be used to show that the defendant is a bad person and therefore is more likely to have committed the crime for which he is accused. You may not consider evidence of other crimes and bad acts for this purpose or for any other purpose other than it as it relates to the motive of the defendant. In addition, while you may have heard that other crimes and bad acts of the defendant have resulted in other charges or indictments not before you, the fact that the defendant was arrested, charged, and indicted in these matters is not evidence and cannot be considered by you as evidence of guilt in this case, nor do these indictments create any presumption of guilt. As to any other pending charges, as is the case here, the defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by the state in a court of law. The function of the jury is to determine whether a defendant is guilty or not guilty, and the consequences of a conviction in this or other pending matters is of no aid in determining whether the defendant committed the offense. You should not consider nor speculate about sentencing consequences for this or any other crimes, as those issues are not before you. The fact that the defendant was arrested, charged, and indicted in this case is not evidence and cannot be considered by you as evidence of guilt. Nor does it create any presumption or inference of guilt. The indictments are simply the formal written instruments which contain the charges made against the defendant. The indictments are the formal documents by which this case is brought into this court. The defendant, Richard Alexander Murdaugh, has pled not guilty to the indictments, and that plea puts the burden on the state to prove the defendant guilty. A person charged with committing a criminal offense in South Carolina is never required to prove himself innocent. I charge you that it is an important rule of the law that the defendant in a criminal trial, no matter what the seriousness of the charge may be, will always be presumed to be innocent of the crime for which the indictment was issued, unless guilt has been proven by evidence satisfying you of that guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. This presumption of innocence does not end when you begin your deliberations, but it accompanies the defendant throughout the trial until you reach a verdict of guilt based on evidence satisfying you of that guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The presumption of innocence is like a robe of righteousness placed about the shoulders of the defendant, which remains with the defendant until it has been stripped from the defendant by evidence satisfying you of that guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The presumption of innocence is not a mere legal theory. It's not just a legal phrase. It is a substantial right to which every defendant is entitled, unless you, the jury, are satisfied from the evidence of the guilt of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. The state must prove the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So what is a reasonable doubt in the law? A reasonable doubt is a doubt which makes an honest, reasonable, sincere, and conscientious juror hesitate to act. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt must therefore be proof of such a convincing character that a reasonable person would not hesitate to rely and act upon it in the most important of his or her own affairs. Proof beyond the reasonable doubt can also be described as proof that leaves you firmly convinced of the guilt of the defendant. Now, there are very few things in this world that we know with absolute certainty. And in criminal cases, the law does not require proof that overcomes every possible doubt. If based on your consideration of the evidence, you are firmly convinced that the defendant is guilty of a crime charged, you must then find him guilty. If, on the other hand, you think there's a real possibility that he is not guilty, you must then give him the benefit of the doubt and find him not guilty. The indictments in this case allege 4 separate offenses against the defendant, The indictments are murder of Maggie Murdaugh, murder of Paul Murdaugh, possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime involving the murder of Maggie Murdaugh, and possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime involving the murder of Paul Murdaugh. Each indictment charges a separate and distinct offense. You must decide each indictment separately on the evidence and the law applicable to it, uninfluenced by your decision as to any other indictment. The defendant may be convicted or acquitted on any or all of the offenses charged. You will be asked to write a separate verdict of guilty or not guilty for each indictment. The defendant, Richard Alexander Murdaugh, is charged with the murder of Margaret Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh. The state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant killed Margaret Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh with malice aforethought. Malice is hatred, ill will, or hostility towards another person. It is the intentional doing of a wrongful act without just cause or excuse, and with an intent to inflict an injury, or under the circumstances that the law will infer an evil intent. Malice aforethought does not require that malice exists for any particular time before the act is committed, but malice must exist in the mind of the defendant just before and at the time the act is committed. Therefore, there must be a combination of the previous evil intent and the act. Malice aforethought may be expressed or inferred. These terms, expressed and inferred, do not mean different kinds of malice, but merely the manner in which malice may be shown to exist. That is, either by direct evidence or by inference from the facts and circumstances which are proven. Express malice is shown when a person speaks words which express hatred or ill will for another, or when the person prepared beforehand to do the act which was later accomplished. For example, lying in wait for a person, or any other acts of preparation going to show that the deed was within the mind of the defendant would be expressed malice. Malice may be inferred from conduct showing a total disregard for human life. The defendant is also charged with possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. 2 counts. The state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant was in possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime. A firearm means any weapon which is designed to or may readily be converted to expel a projectile. In order to find the defendant guilty of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, you must first find the defendant guilty of committing a violent crime. Murder is a violent crime. The state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the weapon furthered, advanced, or helped in the commission of the crime. While the arguments of counsel are a beneficial part of every trial, you should remember that the statements made by counsel are not evidence. In presenting their arguments, counsel often have referred to the evidence. However, you should base your verdict on the evidence as you remember it. If there are any conflicts between the recollection of counsel about the evidence and your own recollection, you should rely on your own understanding of the evidence. You must decide whether the state has met its burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt based solely on the evidence presented in this courtroom. As you were instructed at the start of the trial, you're not permitted to conduct any independent research about this case. The facts of the case, the evidence presented in the case, or the people or organizations involved in any way in the case. Do not try to find any information from any source outside the courtroom, however reliable that source may seem to be. Do not look at dictionaries or other reference materials. Search the internet, websites, or blogs, or use any other electronic tools to get information about this case or help you make a decision. You may not use computers, telephones, cell phones, smartphones, tablets, the internet, or other tools of technology with communication capabilities at any time during your deliberations, except only as provided by the court to review the digital evidence in this case. If your deliberations necessitate an overnight break, you may use these devices as necessary, but you may not use them to communicate with anyone about the case until the case is over. This means that you must not use phone calls, video calls, emails, text messages, instant messages, blogs, chat rooms, websites, or any social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Reddit, and Discord, to send or receive any information about this case. This includes information about a party, a witness, an attorney, a court officer, or your fellow jurors. News accounts about the case, research on any topic raised, or even any topics you may think would be helpful in deciding the case, or any testimony presented by any witness you may not investigate. During your deliberations, do not read, listen to, or watch any news reports about this case. This includes anything that may be in the newspapers or on the internet, radio, or television. You must not consider anything you may have read or heard about the case outside of the courtroom, whether before or during the trial. Information on television, radio, internet, or from other sources may be wrong or incomplete. In our judicial system, it is important that you are not influenced by anything or anyone outside of this courtroom. If your deliberations necessitate an overnight break, even though you may use electronic devices as necessary for purposes unrelated to this trial, I must urge you to minimize your use of such devices. Many internet browsers, smartphone apps, and social media services, as well as traditional media like television and radio, will provide information and news that you do not seek with little or no prompting. It is a strong possibility that information about this case may be thrust upon you every time you use an electronic device. You must therefore use these devices only as absolutely necessary. You must ignore and avoid uninvited information about this case. Now, Madam Forelady and members of the jury, I am required to charge you the law as I have done through these instructions now I'm being given, to help guide you to a just and lawful verdict. Whether some of these instructions apply will depend upon what you find to be the facts. The fact that I have instructed you on various subjects must not be considered as indicating an opinion of this court as to what you should find to be the facts or what your verdict should be. In conclusion, now you've been chosen and sworn to give the parties a fair and impartial trial. When you have done so, you will have completed your oath, and no one will have a right to criticize your verdict. You must not be swayed or influenced by opinions or expressions of opinion you may have heard outside of the courtroom, but rather should base your verdict solely on the testimony of the sworn witnesses who took the stand, the exhibits received into evidence, and the law which I have stated. You should not be swayed by caprice, passion, prejudice, or improper sympathy for or against anyone. Remember, you have no friends to reward or enemies to punish, and all parties are entitled to a fair and impartial trial. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate in an effort to reach an agreement. Each of you must decide this case for yourself, but only after impartial consideration of all of the evidence with your fellow jurors. In the course of your deliberations, do not hesitate to re-examine your own views and change your opinion if you become convinced it is erroneous. However, do not surrender your honest conviction as to the weight or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors or for the mere purpose of returning a verdict. As I stated earlier, you are the judges of the facts. Your verdict must represent the considered judgment of each juror. In other words, your verdict must be unanimous. Now, you may have noticed that I have read these instructions. I do so to give you the law as accurately as possible. I will give you a copy of these instructions to have in the jury room. You may refer to these instructions to assist you in your deliberations. You must consider the instructions as a whole and not follow some and ignore others. And Madam Forelady, it would be your duty to preside over the deliberations of the jury. If during your deliberations you should desire to communicate with the court, please reduce your message or question to writing, signed by your foreperson and the foreperson only. Do not address any questions to anyone other than the court, and reduce it to writing and pass it to the bailiff, signed by the foreperson and the foreperson only. It will then be brought to my attention. I will then respond as promptly as possible, either in writing or by having you return to the courtroom. I caution you, however, with regard to any message or question you might send, that you should never state your or specify your numerical division at the time. Now, you've heard the testimony and you have heard the law. Whatever your verdict, Madam Floor Lady, you will indicate the verdict on the back of each indictment and then sign and date your verdict. You will have these 4 indictments, and on the back of each indictment is a place for verdict. And each one, as to each one, you write your verdict, either not guilty or guilty, then sign and date the verdict. You're not authorized to write the verdict until all of you have agreed on the verdict. Now, in just a minute, I will send you to the jury room. But prior to doing so, I want to ensure that from the 12 jurors we have remaining, if there is any reason that any one of you cannot continue deliberating, please let me know at this time. We have 13 jurors. Only 12 can deliberate. So out of the first 12 jurors now on the panel, if there are any reasons why you cannot continue, please let me know at this time before I excuse the alternate. A show of hands as to anyone who cannot continue deliberating. All jurors then seem to be in good shape and good to go. So when the jury leaves the courtroom, the alternate will remain. And the alternate is.
Okay, good. They still have one alternate. I didn't even think they had that.
I will send you to the jury room, all of you, except for the alternate. But do not begin deliberations until you have received a copy of this jury charge, the indictments, and the exhibits. Once you receive these things, that will be your signal to begin your deliberations. Once you begin deliberations, you will deliberate until you have reached a verdict, at which time you will knock on the door, advise the bailiff, and we will bring you out to receive your verdict. So if all of you will now go to the jury room except for the alternate, juror number 741, who will remain with us while the others go to the jury room. Stated for the record, whatever it is.
About excusing the alternate or not.
All right, what about it?
We've been going for 6 weeks.
Yep, that's
And
what I was
if we, if we could perhaps hold the alternate in the case there's a problem with the 12 and we have to insert the alternate during the deliberations. But
Yes. No, the state concurs with that, Your Honor.
Of course, the statute says alternate must be excused once the jury begins deliberating. And that's always a risk that is taken. So with the consent of the parties, if that's what the parties want, Mr. Murdaugh.
Yes, sir.
Do you want me to hold the alternate in the event something happens to any other juror?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. So, madam, you will not be dismissed. You will remain as a
She's like,
member of the panel while the jurors are deliberating, but will need to be
yes, they are.
taken someplace separately from
Talking about the extra.
the panel to ensure that you do not talk with anyone or communicate with anyone. And we'll figure all that out in a few minutes. But aside from that, if you all will review the exhibits with the court reporter, and bailiff, you can take the charge and the indictments in, and the jury may begin deliberating.
No, this is the
Okay,
this
thank you
is
for
a
reminding me on that.
reserve.
Any additions or exceptions to the charge?
Nothing happened.
Voluntary intoxication, Your Honor?
Yeah, voluntary intoxication was not charged. It was not raised. I cited with the fact that it was not raised as a defense and would not be appropriate to charge.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
They can go home. They
Okay.
can be on their electronic.
Why is everyone
Can't do
standing?
anything regarding. Why is everyone standing? Why is everyone standing?
Click on it. So, let's see, is there a separate room the alternate can go to for the time being? For the time being. That's for the time being.
She's probably like, you know what? Since Alex said he wanted me to stay here, if I have to go in there, his ass is guilty. Total joke.
Down there. 741, if you will follow court officer to a place.
I don't think so.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach with Mr. Waters if something has come up that I think that needs to be.
So they are approaching the bench. They will mute that. They have one juror that I guess will be sequestered in case they need him or her. Yeah, I wouldn't have a very long time to know killing. Yeah, it's finally here, and it's been a long time coming, guys. A long time. Hotel and jury lockdown should be. Yeah. Three days later. It's a full house. It's definitely a full house. Look at the courtroom. You know, this has to be, even maybe for Alec, regardless, he probably knows that regardless he's going to be spending his life in jail, and he's probably just glad to have this almost over with. Maybe, I mean, I don't know how he feels. I can't say that, but you know, I obviously don't think he wants to be found guilty of his wife and son, but in my opinion, I believe he did it. Ramona, I think he will. That's a good question. Well, you know, will it be state or federal prison? You know, it would be federal with the financial. That is a white collar crime, but the murder, that's a whole different story. I mean, you know, I think most people would pick federal. It's much more plush. That is true, Vet Girl. I think they'll have an answer hopefully by tomorrow evening. him being seen on the tape should speak volumes. Yeah. $60 a week for goodies. Yes, Pat. If there is a hung jury, it will be another trial. Oh God. The judge will be like, go back in, fix it. Because the county, I mean, this has been the most expensive trial in South Carolinians history.
All right, you may take them all in along with the, put this on top. And yes, sir.
You took the words out of my mouth, Nosy. This judge will be retiring, I believe, in July. He was an South Carolina attorney. I don't think he was ever a prosecutor, but
We'll be in recess waiting for the verdict.
there we go. Recess. So now what we are going to have to do is just literally wait. Verdict watch. Bingo. Bingo, Missy B. I heard Judge is retiring after this. Not sure if it just... Yeah, he is retiring in July, I believe. Someone said the guns are buried with his father because he has part ownership in the funeral home. Boy, that would be fucking crazy, sissy. Oh my God. That would be genius if he did that. I'm just saying. I mean, it would be. I think, in my opinion, he's sick enough to do it. All right. They're here to take you. They're here to take you, Murdaugh. Good Lord, my anxiety can't take. Oh. Dig up, Daddy. There was always love in Daddy's hands. There was a gun in Daddy's hands. Yes, this judge, I don't think there could have been a more fair, even-tempered judge. Alec took an ink pen. Someone said that earlier. That is... What's it? Paraphernalia. Well, dig up, Daddy. Dig up, Daddy. Oh my God, if he is part ownership in the funeral home, big possibility guns are buried. You know, they went to look for the guns in one of the... I don't know if it's a swamp or a river. There's Buster. Everyone looks tired. Everyone looks ready for this to be over, in my opinion. Contraband. Hello, stars. Good to see you, love. All right. So, there we have it. We are on jury watch, people. You're watching the jury. This is me watching the camera, watching you. Just good. All right, nail biter. Yeah. So, guys, we when the jury comes out, I have alarms, bells, and whistles as soon as we get that jury. They knock on that door and it's like, "Hey, we ready." Oh, thank you, Crystal. Thank you. So, I will be back about 7 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock. I will be back. We're going to be talking about some cases, some crimes, and actually, we may have a lady here in a little bit. She is a subscriber. She's wanted to tell her story about the murder of her child. It's been 8 years, and she believes justice has not been served. So, Justin, do guilty verdicts happen quick normally? Generally, that is the consensus. Yes. If a jury comes back really quickly, that is generally, not always, there's never 100% for anything, but generally it is on the side of guilty. Now, if it is taking a long time, and I would say over 2 days, then that is that there is some struggle going on in that room, meaning I'm not ready to say guilty. Oh, I'm not ready to say not guilty, or what you're, yeah, I'm ready to say guilty on, vice versa. Will we find out today? Don't know. None of us knows. Don't know. Couldn't tell you. It is up to 12 people right now. We can have our opinions and believe what we believe, but the justice of Maggie and Paul is up to whatever the juries thinks. Whatever they can, if they believe Alec Murdaugh did this or if he didn't. Just in case I need them later. Yeah, it is stressful. Okay, it can. It can. Those juries, they get paid $15 a day. Nothing. And like the state I'm in, I think it's like $20 a day, but they're trying to change it to $150 a day. Yeah. Exactly. The field trip was good. Guys, that field trip was amazing. It really, really was. Let me see here. Oh, guys, I want to show you this. Hold on. I got to show you this. This is so funny. So I want you to guys keep an eye on this attorney right here. Watch her face. Now, we got old Jim here talking to the jury, right? Keep an eye on her face. Here we go.
About what I can say and limitations under the rules, but I'm not a witness. Be a cautionary statement. We lawyers aren't witnesses. I didn't take an oath to stand up here and talk to you. I have ethical obligations about what I can say and limitations under the rules, but I'm not a witness. Be a cautionary statement. We lawyers aren't witnesses. I didn't take an oath to stand up here and talk to you. I have ethical obligations about what I can say and limitations under the rules, but I'm not a witness. You're a cautionary statement.
Oh, honey, she ain't having it. She is not having it.
We
Look at
lawyers aren't witnesses. I didn't take an oath to stand up here and talk to you. I have ethical obligations about what I can
and
say
she is a cute little thing
and
too.
limitations under the rules, but I'm not a witness. You're a cautionary statement. We lawyers aren't witnesses. I didn't take an oath to stand up here and talk to you. I have ethical obligations about what I can say
She's like,
and limitations under the rules, but I'm not a witness. You're a cautionary statement.
Savannah's face is everything. Just watch your face. Look at that face. She's like, bro, you're full of donkey doo-doo. Watch her. Watch all those facial expressions right there. She's like, oh, God. That's going to be a meme. I guarantee it. Mark my words. And if it's not going to be a meme, it's going to be a meme for me because I'm making it a meme. Or a GIF. It's got to be a GIF. Oh, my God. That is the most funniest thing. That is going to be on the next Nancy G. Yeah. It took 5 shots. Yeah. Yeah, it took 5 shots and it was a very odd way of, the way she was shot. What is this trap? Oh, watch Jim. Now, this one's harder to see. There's going to be a little arrow here, but watch him. He winks. He gives Dick Harpoolian a wink. And you're going to see it. I'm going to have to play it a couple times, but you can just tell the BS factor. He thinks he did really good. Watch this. Watching there. See? Did you see it? Watch this. See that wink? See that wink? Oh, he thinks he is just the Slim Shady. I'm Jim Birdie. These people love the facial expressions of dark-haired lady lawyer. Yeah, this is her.
And talk to you. I have ethical obligations about what I can say and limitations under the rules, but I'm not a witness. I'm here to talk to you about the evidence. And the same applies to Mr. Waters. You decide what the evidence is. I want to give you a cautionary statement.
It's just amazing. Just amazing.
Interview. Mr. Harpootlian and Mr. Griffin, what you got in there? Ryan, I'm sorry, I lied about everything. I was under a lot of pressure, had a lot going on. Really? Your wife and your son were murdered 3 months ago. And now this is the real Alex. Well, my world's coming down. My world, Alex's world is coming down. Been confronted by his law partners. Losing his job. Now it's me. My world's being affected. Not about that, but now. But I'm sorry I lied. I've lied about everything. Richard Alexander Murdaugh loved, I think he loved me. I think he loved Paul. But you know who he loved more than that? You know who he loved more than that? And who is going to make sure that life, wanted to make sure that life, he loved Alex. And he exercised his greatest power of choice to make sure that life continued or try. And it couldn't.
He loved his money more than. Oh God! Here we got O.J. Simpson. Let's see what this ass
about
has to
this
say.
Alex Murdaugh trial. I don't know why they think I'm an expert on it, but
What
I got to admit,
the hell?
when he took the stand, a guy who's an habitual liar, I did watch when the trial first started. I watched him take the stand, and I thought it was probably a mistake because the guy is an admitted liar, and it's hard for me to think he can be on the stand 5, 6, 7, 8 days without lying. Question is, what did he lie about? But lying and stealing money is a little different than murder. I realized in watching them testify what he was doing. He was just trying to relate to one or two of those jurors that he was a good old boy. He was one of them. And I'm not sure he didn't succeed in doing that. I am not qualified to really say if the guy did it or he didn't do it. If a juror missed an hour of testimony.
Here's the thing on OJ. He said it would be his life's work to find the killer of Nicole Simpson. Nicole and God, I feel terrible. Gold, is it Ron Goldberg? Goldstein. Okay. Him. But he said it would be his life's work. Goldman. Yes, thank you. All he does is golf all day.
They no longer qualified. I've missed days that I haven't watched this. But from what I've seen, do I think it's more likely that he did it? Yes. But more likely equals reasonable doubt. So from what I know, I would have to say there's a lot of reasonable doubt there. He's going to go to jail for all the thievery he did, stealing millions of dollars of people. I think he should be looked at more about the death of his housekeeper a few years ago, where he ended up with over $4 million of the insurance money. I think they should take a hard look at that. But it wouldn't surprise me in the least if this guy beats this case. He's going to go to jail. He's going to go to jail for all the money he stole. I'm curious there because I got 9 to 33 years. 33 years because I caught some guys trying to sell my stolen property and I yelled at them. Even they didn't think I should go to jail. And the judge gave me, Jackie Glass gave me 9 to 33 years. So I'm trying to see what this guy is going to get. I was up there with guys who had robbed casinos and robbed banks 2 or 3 times, and they had half the time or a third of the time that I got. So I'm always curious to see what kind of time these guys get for stealing millions of dollars. When I caught guys stealing my stolen property, the state of California, after I was convicted, ruled it was my property and they gave it to me. So I have it now. So how do you go to jail for catching guys who are trying to sell your stolen property? Well, nevertheless, I do think this guy more than likely did it. But once again, more than likely to me is tantamount to reasonable doubt. It would work against him in a civil trial, but I don't know if it's going to work against him in this criminal trial. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if he beats this. I'm just saying. Take care. Hey, Twitter.
He always says, "Hey, Twitter world, it's me, OJ." And then he says, he's just an idiot. His glasses are dirty. He is. Put a 1 in the chat if you remember O.J. Simpson and the Bronco. I'll never forget it as long as I live. I was very young, but I remember it. And watching the Barbara Walters special. We had a floor model TV, and I was sitting there till late in the evening. People was down the road on the bridges. They were like that was like whew, white Bronco, yes. And now Broncos are back. They're making Broncos again. Why would he lie about being at the kennels? Exactly. We shut down school and watched. Wow. And Ron Goldberg, that is just a tragedy. That just happened out of sheer chance of him being there. Yeah, you know why I'm into true crime. Yeah, I was watching freaking O.J. Simpson. That was like insanity, really.
On the other hand, has fooled everyone who thought they were close to him, everyone who thought they knew he was who he was. He's fooled them all.
Watch Alex's face.
And he fooled Maggie and Paul too. And they paid for it
He don't
with
like that.
their lives. Don't let him fool you too. This
Look at
defendant,
that. Watch his face good and close. He's going to explode, it looks like.
on the other hand, has fooled everyone who thought they were close to him, everyone who thought they knew he was who he was. He's fooled them all. And he fooled Maggie and Paul too. And they paid for it with their lives. Don't let him fool you too.
Watching, he's just exploding inside. You can just
This
see the
defendant,
nuclear bombs. You can just see the nuclear bombs going off. Yes, it was in a Las Vegas hotel, I believe, and he had a group of people in there. It was crazy, crazy, crazy. Love the judge. Love the judge. Can we pause to give credit to this beautiful and hardworking lawyer, Gabrielle Williams, Esquire, law clerk to the Honorable Clifton Newman. She is stunning, she is brilliant, and she is most definitely the next generation of South Carolina lawyers. I agree with that.
you heard that Maggie had no defensive wounds. You also heard Paul had stippling from that first shot, a close range shot, with no indication that he detected a threat from the person who fired that weapon. And why? Because it was him. Same with Maggie, because Maggie sees what happens and she comes running over there, running to her baby. Probably the last thing on her mind, thinking that it was him who had done this. She's running to her baby while he's picked up the blackout and opens fire at close range, again with no defensive wounds. And she takes those two shots that you heard Dr. Reamer say were parallel, and it crumples her over. In those cases, you can see them move around. It takes that shot that goes through here, and she goes down flat. And then there's the shot in the back of the head.
When he says to check on her baby, that's tough. There's Mallory Beach, beautiful Mallory Beach. I mean, guys, think about the bodies that have piled up around them in just the last few years. And most of the time, they could make things go away. But until the boating accident, that is when a child died. A beautiful young girl. And all these parents, it took a band of parents to come together. And we got to remember, Stephen Smith was before this.
They were watching that kennel video. She and her dog Tater. And when Bubba started to bark, that's what my aunt calls him, dead Bubba. Tater barked. And Sally said, isn't it something that your best witness in here are the dogs? You know, some people say they got a sixth sense. You think Bubba knew? You think Bubba knew something? He got Alex to say something. Bubba! Thank God for Bubba. DNA, and that DNA, when people live together, you'll have it all over your shirt. That's not it. But DNA, in this case, that dog negates all. Thank you, Bubba.
Thank you, Bubba, the dog. Yeah, and you know, and that's the thing, Barb. I kind of said that I spoke on this earlier. Paul had his flaws, but you know, we all have our flaws, no matter any, you know, at our age, uh, and we especially have our flaws at a younger age. We haven't experienced life yet. We think we can get by with stuff. We think we're invincible. And he made a grave mistake with Mallory Beach. But it wasn't up to his father to take anyone's life, right? So, you know, I get it that there is ill feelings toward Paul. I get that. But think of the way he died. I mean, his brain came in a separate bag.
And guess where Bubba is now? Bubba's with Blanca. Bubba's with Blanca. You can't make that up. And that puts him down there. And that's the lie he told and told and told. Why did he lie? And that is certainly a fair question. That Mr. Waters stated to you that just aren't facts and aren't supported by the facts and the evidence that you heard. And before I do that, I want to give you a cautionary statement. We lawyers aren't witnesses. I didn't take an oath to stand up here and talk to you. I have ethical obligations about what I can say and limitations under the rules, but
That I hope he's thinking right here, it should have just been a good evening together. I really effed up. The waterworks, yep. Murdaugh's defense attorney Jen Griffin closing arguments is sloppy and weak. The look on Alex's face, my defense did me so bad. You're right.
Oh, that's awful.
Guilty people absolutely can cry, Barb. Absolutely. And a lot of times they're not crying because they feel bad. They're crying because of,
back in the jury room.
it can be multiple things. They're crying because of all the things coming at them. They're crying for themselves. And, you know, I do believe Alex wishes he could have taken this back. I do. But I think he was heavily impulsed, and he thought this was the best idea at that time, while he is fueled with 60 to 100 pills a day. I don't even know how the man has a freaking liver left. Yeah, and all this snot and saliva going everywhere.
States Exhibit 503.
Absolutely. Oh,
I
here's
would tell police is the truth because I would want to catch the killer. But the first thing he did was lie to 911 that he was not in the kennels at the critical moment of the murder.
yeah. I came home and yeah, right. His liver is probably screaming he did him so bad. Yes, that's exactly right, Misty. He's sober now and fully realizes what he did, and I do believe that, and I think that is what feeds a lot of those tears. Is, when you get sober, it's like the best thing I can tell you is there's a veil that is lifted. That's the only way I can personally describe it from experience. 10 years, this past September, I've been clean, and it is a veil that is lifted. You guys remember that commercial? There's clear, and then there's Claritin Clear. Like, that is what it's like. That is exactly what it's like. There's clear, and then there's Claritin Clear. And that's what it's like.
Which leads me to my second point. Who, other than the killer, would know that critical 5-minute period that the murders went down? Other than the killer, no one.
No,
But
absolutely
Murdaugh
not. You
knew
would have
because he's the
no
killer.
idea what time.
The first
Yes, and I hope and pray that the jury takes that 5 minutes into account. If they takes that 5 minutes into account, there is no other possibility that anyone could know other than the killer that 5 minutes. Period. Get myself some clear eyes. For dry, red eyes, try clear eyes.
So here about 35 or 40 minutes. Y'all remember looking at her up here on the scene? And she got visibly upset. I said, what's wrong? Ask her, what's wrong? What's wrong there? Was he there 35, 40 minutes?
Hold on. We need to give a shout out to Nancy Grace's purse. Nancy has dropped me 4 times today. So if we can give a round of applause, some hearts for Nancy Grace's purse in the chat. Thank you. Thank you, Kate May. Yes, Nancy's purse. And poor Nancy Grace's purse has been dropped an entire 4 times today. It's got to be hard being a Michael Kors bag just being dropped. I'm really sorry, Nancy's purse. I'm gonna weep for you. Bet you it's not as nice as Molly's purse. Probably. You're probably right.
No, sir. Why are you upset? It's a good family. You think she knew right then? He's coming back to say, hey, I was here 35, 40 minutes now visiting my mom. Shelley said, no. No, you weren't. So upset that she calls her brother, police officer in Yamasee. You think she knew right then? And that's real. That's real. Shelley's real.
He's mad.
Body language is so important, right? Body language is so
Think
important.
about it.
Talking about the defendant.
Body
All
language.
our body language. You see Shelley's. And then one day that week, never before, never, ever before, at 6:30 in the morning, doesn't call. He didn't need a timeline to create for that one, does it? Didn't want a timeline. Didn't want a record of that. He comes to see Shelley. You ever been over that time before? No. What was he carrying? It was some blue.
So let's just stop here and take a look at Alec, his face. Look at that. That is a face of pure aggravation, irritation, and there, in my opinion, there has been pieces of Alec, a dark side to him, that he wants to, it's like he almost wants to burst out, like he'll give this real, when he wants, like he gets really angry. You can tell. And that is what I think Paul and Maggie saw that day. Unfortunately. Yeah. He threw Shelley under the bus. That has worked for the parents. Exactly, Laura. Angry Dick. Yes. Worked for, I think, 40 years for the parents. 40 years. Now, why would an innocent father, ask yourself this legitimately, why would an innocent father say, Shelley, double the time, please, that I was here, if they ask? Why? Why would an innocent person do that? You're a father. You're a husband. That's not what innocent people do. Innocent people have nothing to cover up, nothing to hide. In fact, they want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for their son, their wife, to find the right person. And Alec lied a lot.
Final, like, remember I tried to, what? It's like this. What did you think it was? Tarp, I don't know what it was. And they try to gloss over it now.
Did y'all see that? He's whispering under his breath. I want you to look at that. I want you to look at that.
Gloss over it now. Tell you one thing they didn't gloss over.
With his mouth. Here you go.
And they try to gloss over it now. Tell you one thing they didn't gloss over. You remember when she was on the stand? I said, well, have you talked to them? Have you talked to their investigators? Well, yes, sir. Did they record you? Yes, sir. Can I have a copy of it? And then we came back and we got a copy. And two investigators, they were worried about it. Remember, I was here.
That's Justin, do you think they'll have a verdict today? I don't think there will be a verdict today. No, I would be absolutely floored if there was a verdict today. Floored. Oh yeah, he was chewing his lip. He was biting his nails. All right. I just saw this clip. I've changed my mind. He's guilty. I'm a huge believer in nonverbal body language. His attorney should have prepped him to not shaking his head yes as he's saying he did not kill them. Yeah.
And fired into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body? No, I did not. But Murdaugh, and did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out any day? No, I did not.
So Alec, he said, no, I did not. No, I did not. No, I did not. No, I did not. Yeah, that's pretty. I'm no body language expert or anything, but chills ran down my spine. It was like he was reliving the murders or was visualizing. Yes, this was the face. This is the face. This is the face where it gets me. Watch this. When he wanted to get.
Any circumstances.
You can't hear it. It's watch his face. Watch this. He changed. And that, yes, that is a double negative. Yes. He changed right there. Buster picks his nose in court. Yeah. Look at the morph. Just morphs totally. And it's chilling. Look at the deep breathing. And he tries to brush it off with a couple sniffles. Watch his lip right there. It's the little things. Watch that lip.
Any circumstances.
See, the lip goes in. Heavy breathing. Yes, if looks could kill. Yep, he did flip out. Shapeshifter. Yes. What a moment. This is the best moment of the cross so far. What do you think?
5'2" people that just happened to know that Paul and Maggie were both at Moselle on June 7th, that knew that they would be at the kennels alone on June the 7th, that knew that you would not be there, but only between the times of 8:49 and 9:02, that they show up without a weapon, assuming that they're going to find weapons and ammunition there, that they commit this crime during that short time window, and then they travel the same exact route that you do around the same time to Alameda. That's what you're trying to tell this jury?
You got a lot of factors in there, Mr. Waters, all of which I do not agree with, but some of which I do.
What you're telling this jury is that it's a random vigilante.
That's your
the
turn.
12-year-old 5'2" people that just happened to know that Paul and Maggie were both at Moselle on June 7th, that knew that they would be at the kennels alone on June the 7th, that knew that you would not be there, but only between the times of 8:49 and 9:02, that they show up without a weapon, assuming that they're going to find weapons and ammunition there, that they commit this crime during that short time window, and then they travel the same exact route that you do around the same time to Alameda.
That's another great point. Another great point. Think about that. Let's say there was two people that showed up there and they had this, they wanted revenge because of the boating accidents. Well, two people's not going to show up without a weapon. if you're planning on, unaliving someone. So they're just going to hope to God they can get their hands on a weapon and 2 ammunition. And it's going to be exactly when Alec is not there. Throw it out the window.
That's what you're trying to tell this jury? You got a lot of factors in there, Mr. Waters, all of which I do not agree with, but some of which I do.
All right, let's watch this. I haven't seen this.
He's texting a friend and reads. Paul was in a dog kennel.
I think this is the lady that did the simulation of the Brian Kohlberger as well, and she did a really good job on that one. I bet you she did a really good job on this one.
Taking a video that ended at 8:46. A few minutes later, he was walking to the feed room. He's texting a friend and reads his last text at 8:48:59. Seconds later, the first shot is fired. At 8:49:01, his phone is forever locked and never used again. Blood drips from Paul's left arm as he staggers to the door. The gunman, thinking he had killed Paul with the first shot, goes to get his other weapon, but is shocked when he senses Paul by the door. A second earlier, Maggie at 8:49.
So I just want you to think about that for one moment. And this is what fires me up in true crime. I always think about the moment it is happening, especially when a child is being killed by a loved one. The shock of not only being shot or choked or whatever, but it being done by the person that raised you and is supposed to protect you. The confusion, especially for a child, it is the most highest degree of betrayal that exists ever.
Reads her last text and is interrupted by the sound of gunfire. She turns to run back. The gunman grabs his gun and runs towards Maggie. As she approaches, she sees Paul on the ground, but the gunman stops her. Let's rewind this so we can see the pathologist's report. Now let's circle around and see the path of the bullets.
I want to pause it right here because right here, when they were looking, the jury came yesterday and looked at the property. There is pellets from the bullets still in this doghouse.
Here we see the 2 entrant wounds, one here and another here. Circling around to the back, we can see those exit wounds. Now we can see those wounds, one here and the other here. Continuing on to the last illustration, we can see how she was shot in an upward direction, the bullet going through her breast and into the head, as noted in the diagram.
She always does an incredible job. Always an incredible job. And, yeah, always. And, Paul is going to be, he would be, I guess, the biggest target because he's a man and he's got more power and he's more likely to, run faster, get a gun out of a person's hand or whatever. So obviously Paul was most likely shot first. And then, what is a human going to do when they hear a shot? Well, first of all, they're going to look around. But when your family is around and you see your kid laying in a doorway, I'm sure there's confusion of what happened, but you hear the gunshot. She probably thought, he accidentally done it himself, like in a split second. That's the only thing I could think of. And then she's going to run toward the accident. This is her kid. So, no, she doesn't have YouTube. She just has TikTok.
Right back.
So this is after Alex Murdaugh says, quote, after Maggie asked me to leave, end quote. He says this twice while on the stand. Had Maggie had enough and was asking him to leave the home she owned? Is that a motive? Had it all come to a head? I believe it had all come to a head. There is, the friend of Maggie said that Alec had, she was suspicious that night of going over there.
No, no, sir. No, sir. I didn't jet down there and I didn't jet back. I got up after Maggie asked me to leave, after Maggie asked me to go with her, and I didn't. I got up. I went and got on a golf cart.
Right back.
No, no, sir. No, sir. I didn't jet down there and I didn't jet back. I got up after Maggie asked me to leave.
After Maggie asked him to leave, he slipped. He slipped. After Maggie asked me to leave. And this is the thing, like Buster, I understand a little bit more in taking up for his dad, but because like that's all he has left, even though the sickness of Alec doing this to his brother and his mother, and Buster and Maggie were closer anyways. But Alec's family, like I know that's family, but this was your nephew, this is your family, and it's like they're all backing Alec, and these are seasoned, one of them's a very seasoned attorney. They're an educated family. I like it. After his father lied about being at the kennels, bus should take a bus.
After Maggie asked me to go with her, and I didn't. I got up. I went and got on a golf cart.
Right back.
Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you. This says, Dear Jim Griffin, men kill their families to avoid being found out themselves. Have their lives changed all the time. This is the most common motive for family annihilators. And every one of these families have been annihilated by their husbands. This is the one that they lived in that Disney neighborhood in Florida. They moved from like Connecticut or Boston, something like that. And he annihilated them all. And he still lived in the house for several weeks, but he was losing out financially as well. Now that I remember this case, it is very similar to an Alex Murdaugh. He was found guilty. Maybe even to death. Under the small box and just behind left shoulder. Oh, okay. Here's the other attorney. Watch this. Watch right through here. Right here.
He lied for all those reasons. But when he did lie for is because he was covering up the fact that he killed Maggie and Paul.
They just can't even believe the ignorance of Jim. He did not do a good job. Who can read lips? This was Buster Murdaugh right after the first arriving officer explained. Whiskey Mike, white male, Wiki Foxtrot, white female. What did Buster say?
Do we have anything else?
We need a lip reader.
Do we have anything else?
Anyone read lips? He's saying something. Look at these two. Body language, so important. Like father, like son. Oops. There was the O.J. Simpson. I'm just going to pocket this damn darn highfalutin pen. Yes, ma'am. Y'all, because I'm addicted to stealing. Well, he'll probably want to trade it off in a bet or something. Yeah, you love a good pen, Zen. Me too. Jim scratch his head. He's such a thief. Warning, I know this is... I'm sure I'm not muted. Okay. This is going to cause debate, but I was looking at this clip after the witness yesterday. Does this sound like Alex says, I thought I shot Maggie first, or, quote, I thought they shot Maggie first? I hear I shot Maggie first. What do y'all think?
What's last? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I believe
Paul was shot first. For the simple fact of where he was located. How many times was he shot? Twice. I thought he shot Maggie first because they could tell he shot her in the back of the head. Tell us, looks like. For the simple fact of where he was located. How many times was he shot? Twice. I thought he shot Maggie first because they could tell.
I can hear both. What do y'all hear?
I thought he shot Maggie. I thought he shot Maggie first because they could tell. I thought he shot Maggie first because they could tell.
I thought they shot Maggie first. I always want to give credit where credit's due. But I'm still processing Jimmy G winking after his emotional closing. So much manipulation from Alex's side. I'm done with them. That's evil. After he was crying. Let's see here. Let's see. Why did it freeze? Okay. Very strange apology and choice of words. I would never intentionally do anything to hurt either one of them. His body language is not agreeing with his words.
Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Pawpaw. I would never intentionally do anything to hurt either one of them.
Well, you intentionally lied that you was not there. Alex Murdaugh, it is not this side door for entry into the gun room, but the front door to the right of the veranda in front of the MM bicycle and the golf park. Watch the third video of sled agent side door, no keypad.
Was the door to the house
But his
unlocked?
shirt wasn't wet.
You know, that's a good question. I thought about that. I don't remember. It either was unlocked or I had the code because there's a keypad on a side door. But I can't tell you which door I went in.
There's a keypad on the door into the gun room?
Make it
Finally,
make sense.
someone
Did you eventually
answers
go down
why
to
we
the
hear a
cellar?
keypad. A keypad into the gun room makes perfect sense because we heard Alec go to get a gun and keypad instead of going in the front door.
There was just
John Marvin, thank you. There's a keypad on the gun room.
Was it?
That's interesting. That's very interesting. A keypad on the gun room. Okay, here's the sled.
Tires all crooked.
So when
Tires all crooked.
It's not the side door for entry into the gun room, but the front door to the right on the veranda in front of where Maggie Murdaugh's bicycle and the golf carts park. Watch the third video of sled. Agent side. No keypad. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Watch Jim Griffin live. Watch the whole video. Okay.
And he references some things I said in the HBO interview. Well, I didn't, and he knows I didn't. It was testified about. That was filmed back in, I don't know, spring, summer of 2022.
November 2022 is mentioned because that's the time this documentary actually aired. Alex wasn't formally indicted until July 14th.
Well before he was charged with murder. The last one was about me.
He had to put himself in it, didn't he? Alex is getting long. Adding more names to people too. Prosecutor Creighton Waters did an excellent job in closing arguments, but this part about the shortest nap in history of the South had me rolling.
That he jetted back, that he went inside so quickly and quickly dozed off in the shortest nap in the history of the South. And then he got in his car just seconds after these supposed vigilantes. These vigilantes that apparently are 5'2", that knew somehow that Paul and Maggie would be both at Moselle on the evening of June 7th between 8:45.
Let's think about that for a moment. 5'2". First of all, we know it's usually, I mean, you would think that there would be two, if there was two people that did this, it would be two men, because men create more violent crimes to begin with, right? So 5'2". I mean, even Dolly isn't 5'2". I'm 5'8". I mean, Alec, he was shooting from below, right? Like, who did this? Oompa Loompas of the South? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. People.
902 that also knew that they would be alone at this time. That they knew that Alec would not be at these kennels. And they also knew the property well enough to get to the kennels. They also assumed that they would find ammunition and guns there, so they didn't bring those. And they traveled the same route as Alec after his short 20-second nap.
I mean, think about that. Think about that. Like, these people are following Alec the entire time. Following Alec the entire time. Well, that's because it was Alec. Yeah, but yeah, like, I'm 5'8", right? Alec is 6'5", 6'5". You know, he's shooting from the hip. You know, it's not going to be a female doing this.
And knew that he would be visiting his mother at Alameda during that time.
And knew it was going to be Alex Murdaugh on what he did after the kennel. I got out of there.
Remember his last conversation?
didn't say, if only I had been there, if only I had gone to the kennels, if only I could have stopped it, if only I had been there a little longer. He, to me, Alex's defense should have been, yes, I saw the killers, but they told me if I said anything, I would be next in the rest of my extended family, and I got out of there as soon as it happened.
At the kennels, to use his own words, and when you hear what he has to say, when he was asked after the kennel video and his new story, what he did, he said, I got out of there. He's got that photographic memory, but can't remember what he was doing when he was his most active on that day. He didn't say, if only I had been there. If only I had gone to the kennels. If only I could have stopped it. If only I had been there a little longer. He says, I got out of there. What father?
Now, listen, if someone did this to your family, I would be staying there. I would beg for them to come back. I want to know who did this. Come back. There would be anger as a parent. You're doing this to me? You're doing this to me? You would be angry, furious. You want to find these people. Not Alec.
Father would hold anything back if he were innocent? What father would care what happens to him after that? He claims he told you that he had cooperated with SLED. But he hadn't. There's nothing more important if someone's innocent to telling law enforcement when the last time the victims were alive. I just saw them. I saw them at 8:50. I saw them at 8:49. They're still out there. Go get them. If he can remember a line to...
Mr. Waters did an incredible job. Crime scene analysis, Tim Palmbach says he believes 2 shooters likely killed Paul Murdaugh. What do you think? Not a chance. Alec Murdaugh is physically shaking while... watch him shake.
Exit wound, and I did not do further investigation to rule out of the top of the head. I believe and I'm confident that this is an exit wound, and I did not.
Interesting. Watch the... He said it's tempting. Is this Clayton Waters? Who's shocked? Who's shocked about this? I thought he would be singing choir verses. Got a heavy metal man here.
the morning, smile and kiss your face. Meet with the yawning, walk around your place. You ask me how it's been. You know it could be better. After all I've seen, better sooner than later. It's been such a long week, and I know it feels so good. Look away, get in your car, and nothing's ever right where you are. And you don't know how much I hate I'm wanting you. Conflicted feeling, addicted and reeling from the thought of leaving you. I can't believe it. The news off the rose. You feel deceiving.
I am impressed, and I like the man even more now. Like, I like him even more now. This is sad.
There were a few surprises. This crime scene had been staged with things like this bicycle, which Maggie was known to have ridden from the house down to the kennels. After they got there, somebody moved that bicycle up closer to the house to make it look even more like it was Maggie's bike. Inside one of the dog kennels was this dog toy, which just so ironically happened to be a chicken. Up at the house, there was a planter on the front porch with Buster's name on it, and the piece de resistance was this shirt hanging in the window of the house. I got to give credit on this one to my followers because I didn't see this yesterday. I was so busy watching the closing argument, but
I didn't see that either. I mean, I saw the bike, but I thought it was just sitting there the entire time.
In evidence 188, and this is not under seal. 188, and zoom in on the.
That's interesting. Watch this. This person says, look at the smirk on JMM's face, which is Alec Murdaugh's brother, right here, during Dr. Kinsley's cross-examination, make sure I'm not muted, about how Paul was shot. Where's all the sadness and grief he had on display when he testified? Master manipulation. What do you guys think about this? Let me know.
Defendants in evidence 188, and this is not under seal. 188, please. And zoom in on the indentation.
There's actually several if you, I mean, right. you're cutting in on that one, but.
So you say that.
Now, this is Maggie's sister, though, right? Why is she sitting over here? Yeah, John Marvin. Why is she sitting over there? That's the question. Missed call from Alex Inns.
That's the call we just saw, right? Ending.
Yes.
Do you have an opinion on why the screen light would go off pretty much right when a call comes in?
The only thing that I could figure is when the phone came in,
or excuse me, the call came in, that the person hit the side button to turn
Oh,
it
that's
off. and
Alex's
put it down or
sister.
flip the
Sorry.
phone over.
Do you
And
know
the
of
backlight
anything on
goes
the
off.
phone that would cause the screen to go off right when a call comes in and stay off during the call that does not involve human interaction with the phone?
No, I don't. And then we have a missed call from Alex that
Sorry, I'm muted. I was laughing at hold on, Jody's comment. Where was that? I'd like to know who the man is that sits directly behind the defense that wears the flashy suits he's pimping. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to be live. There's my phone. I will be live in a little bit. I need to call a sub of mine she believes her child was murdered 8 years ago and nothing has been done about it. I need to talk to her about it. And then some new cases that are coming up, or they've obviously, these cases that people have already been arrested, but oh, they're so bad. Nice. So just like, ugh. Just terrible. Love you all. Appreciate it. As soon as that verdict comes in, I will be here. I don't think it's going to happen today, though. I really don't think it's going to happen today. It could. I mean, they're just like, look, the dude, unanimously, they think he's guilty. You don't got to talk much. But I'm sure they're going to go through. I mean, there's 6 weeks of testimony. So. They've been separated? That's crazy. You think 5 days wake up? Interesting. All right, guys. I'll see you in a little bit. Love you all. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.